Have you ever wondered how Subfocus makes us euphoric and festival-ready dance floor drum and bass? Well, today I'm going to be showing you how to recreate his iconic bounce like can be heard in his latest release, Go Back with John Summit. It's an absolute banger of a tune. Welcome back on How to Drum and Bass with Inverse Audio. My name is 5X and I've got a slapper for you today. Apologies that I've been away from the channel for so long. For those that didn't know, I was actually finishing my university degree, but now that's all done, I'm ready to take Inverse Audio full time, so expect loads more content from now on. Drop the video a like if you've enjoyed, leave a comment with what you want to see next, and without any further ado, let's get right in the video. Subfocus is known for its quintessential dance floor drums, featuring a punchy kick and a classic drum and bass snare that has a body tone around 200 Hz. His hi-hats are straightforward, but he elevates them with the addition of splashy crashes that bring energy and brightness. Don't hesitate to drop out the kick or snare in certain sections to give the track some more breathing room and dynamic contrast. This technique helps maintain listener interest and adds a professional touch to your arrangement. And just really quickly, all the drums and all the effects samples from today's video come from our latest sample pack, Inverse Audio Drum and Bass Volume 3. This pack contains over 1,300 files and 400 plus presets covering 4 different subgenres: dancefloor, liquid, neurofunk, and of course jump up. Use code YouTube10 and get an extra 10% off, and I'll quickly cover over the pack right now. Alright, so we've spent so long on this pack, honestly, it took us months. It was a part of my university project as well. We've split it up into 4 sections. So you've got a dance floor, a liquid, a jump up, and a neurofolder. They all have loops and one shots. And you know, just the amount of sounds in here are crazy. For example, the atmospheres. There's almost one for every key. All the drums are super high quality and usable. And there's just, look at the amount of them. And arguably my favorite folder in here is this jump up bass one shot folder. There's 83 of them to be exact. Just honestly crazy. So yeah, if you're interested in supporting us and just getting your hands on some really nice samples, honestly all usable in every genre, and has everything that you need, then yeah, go check out the link below. But to get started on the track now, as always, I'll break down every element first and then play them in conjunction. So what Subfocus likes to use for his kick is something that has a lot of weight, but then also has that initial high-end transient at the start. And you can sort of tell by looking at the waveform here that we've got this high-end energy here, and then that low-end rumble. And this is what it sounds like. So you can tell it's just carrying a lot of weight, but it's also still punchy. As you can see that high end here at the top right, it's definitely there. One mistake I'll see, you know, a lot of newer producers doing is removing the high end, in the kick. And the problem with that is when you listen to your music on devices that aren't, you know, studio grade headphones or speakers, they can't produce those sub bass frequencies and bass frequencies. All that you will be able to hear is that initial transient. So it almost gives the illusion that you can hear the kick when in majority you can't hear the most of it. So make sure you find something with a nice tone, a nice body, and then that initial transient as well. I've sort of followed a similar technique here for the snare. So the snare, as we know, it's made out of 2 parts, the initial main body, and then it's got that white noise at the end. I've also layered this one to give it a bit more white noise. And I've edited that one. I'll show you what I've done to them. So the initial snare, it's just as an EQ. But what I'm referring to as the body is this main frequency here. For example, this one's about 270 Hertz. So you want something that's not too high and heavy like this. Or, you know, lacking low end. You want it to be just right. And then the way that I've done this other one, I've used a Pro Q to EQ the lows. I've used the transient shaper to reduce that attack and increase the sustain, and just made it quite wide. And then when you combine these, With these effects as well, what I've done here is I've added some attack just to really accent the initial hit of the snare. And I've also added in an EQ. I'm just boosting that main frequency slightly. I've got a decapitator just to sort of squish it all together and give it a bit of drive. And then a standard clip just to control the volume again and just to shave off those peaks. Next, I've got hi-hats. Got one going every half beat. And as you can see, this one's slightly shifted. About 2 spaces to the right. And it is slightly lower in volume just to make them slightly less robotic. And next, we've got this hat that's going every 2 beats and one every 1 beat. And yeah, when you sort of pair them together, gives you a nice, dynamic bounce. On top of that, I've layered this crash. I've taken out the the low frequencies, and I've made it slightly wide again, just to fill out that range at the top. And then again, I've got 2 top loops. And lastly, I have a drum break from the pack. This is from the second one, not the latest one, but it did throw it in. So yeah, when you sort of put them together, you get something a bit like this. And yeah, that's sort of how to do subfocus style drums. Subfocus's bass lines are a defining element of his sound. Start off with a 1/8 note rolling mid-bass and a solid sub-bass foundation. Achieve that mid-bass thickness through layering. One layer should be wide and another should be mono. Accent sounds like whomps or brass stabs add character and variation, but the bounciness in his bass lines comes from effective sidechain, which I'll demonstrate shortly. This technique creates that signature pumping effect, allowing the bass and kicks to coexist without clashing. So first, I'll quickly play the sub. It's just a sine wave with 3 harmonics. Next, we've got the first mid bass. So this first mid bass is pretty simple. What we have here is a sawtooth wave. And what I've done here is I've made it velocity sensitive. So when I'm changing the velocity in the MIDI, it will change the sound. So what I've gone for here is I've mapped it to the decay, so the length of the mid bass, and also the cutoff and how much that controls it. But I've done that in the matrix here. If you drag it to the velocity, this will control, because the envelope here is also still mapped to the cutoff. Then if you drag it here or just change it as so, you can sort of control the amount. And what I've done here in the MIDI is I've sort of staggered these notes, as you can see, going like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gets louder. A bit more interesting than having something that's completely flat. And this patch is repeated on all the other mid basses. This is the second mid bass. This is more meant as the sort of top end harmonic. The only difference here is I've got an ICANN has kick wavetable, 1 octave higher than the original. And I'm also using some FM from B, and the effect's the same as the first one, just a bit of distortion and some chorus just to make it wide. And then the last one that we have is completely mono. It also features a white noise for a little transient and a bit of attack just to cut through the mix. Super simple stuff. And when you sort of layer those together, you get something like this. And out on the effects, so the first mid bass, we're cutting out the sort of sub, because we already have one. And I'm cutting out some of those, that 200 hertz area, because it creates a bit of mud. I'm boosting the mid to high mids. Adding a disperser for that multi-band delay effect. And a decapitator just for some volume. This is without effects. And with. Over here, I just have an EQ on the second one, and on the last one, an EQ and a decapitator. To be honest, it's probably a bit much white noise. Just enough to cut through. Yeah, and when you layer them, you've got a really nice mid bass going on in the track. Then the next thing I've added is this brass bass, as can be heard in his latest single with John Summit. I'll try to sort of emulate that. It's just got a few basic effects, some EQ, distortion, bit of widening, and we've got some reverb on there. I believe that's with one of the patches, but it's just altered. The only thing I've added here is this LFO on a bar envelope, just so that it opens up with a cutoff, rather than this. It sounds a bit more like brass that way. So yeah, when you combine the basses and the drums, it sounds like this. And as you can hear, the main driving factor that gives it that pumping effect is the sidechain. If I quickly play you it without it, you're going to hear a massive difference. So basically what I'm trying to do with this sidechain is carve out a space in the bass for the kick to sit in so that they can coexist, you know, sort of at the same time, or giving that illusion anyway. So if you have a look, the sidechain automation almost fits into that gap there. And all that this gap is I have all my basses on my sub and on my sub going into a channel here. All I have on it is a gain automation, which goes to 0%. It's important because on this setting, minus 30 is not quite zero. Far from it. This is minus infinity. So all I'm doing is automating the volume to go from 0% to back to 100 to get that original volume. And if I mute the kick, you'll sort of be able to hear what's happening. And that's where we're getting that bounce from. And now if I put the kick back in, you'll be able to hear that it just fits in perfectly. And then same thing goes for the snare, except for the snare, I'm only doing the basses, not the sub. And yeah, that sounds like this. And without the sidechain. And with again. So yeah, there is quite a big difference, and it's something that you absolutely have to be doing in your tracks if you aren't already. Sub-Focus's tracks often feature euphoric, uplifting vocals. Now, for most of us producers, achieving those unique studio-quality vocals are almost impossible until now. At Inverse Audio, we've partnered with Vocalify to provide high-quality, royalty-free acapellas. Use code InverseAudio10 for an extra 10% off upon checkout. The vocals in today's video are sourced from Vocalify, so if you're looking to upgrade your sound, Vocalify is a great resource for professional vocals that fit perfectly in any track or genre. So if we quickly have a look at the vocals, the great thing about these is obviously they're royalty free. Some of them don't even cost that much, and they're really not overused. Unlike one service that we probably all know and abuse way too much. And the good thing is that you don't just get a one file of the vocal. You've got dry, you've got wet, you've got unprocessed, so you can, you know, really do what you want with them. You get lead takes, you get background takes, you get ad-libs. So I'll quickly just play what I picked for this video.
Don't go, stand down, get stand aside.
There's also a doubled version as well, like a harmony version. It's very sub-focusy. I tried to go for that, you know, his latest single vibe where it's sort of repeating, but it's not repetitive almost, right? It's just like a catchy section that loops. There was also this ad-lib vocal in there, which fits very nicely. But yeah, if you're interested in those vocals, the link will be down below with a referral code. Sub-Focus crafts anthemic ambiences that are perfect for festival settings. Utilize long, lush pads, tension-building plucks, and low rumbling V-spaces to create a rich sonic landscape. Another technique he employs is chopping up vocals and drowning them in reverb to produce an easy and immersive atmosphere. This method adds a layer of depth and intrigue to your tracks. So for this atmosphere, what I did was I actually just used one of our atmospheres in the pack. I believe it's Liquid Atmosphere number 1. I feel like it was just the perfect vibe. On top of that, I've layered some pads. They just follow the chord progression. And then on top of that, I've got a pluck as well. which is just another one of our presets. And then, yeah, so when you start building those, adding a really basic respace. A clap. And of course, you can't forget the effects.
It's a 7:15 in the morning, getting started. Give me broken hearted. Tell me what you feel.
And then also that technique of chopping up the vocal and sort of drowning it in reverb. I've done that here by taking just a bit of the acapella. If I play you it dry, sounds a bit stupid. But what I've done is I've drowned it in reverb, removed some of the frequencies, and probably the biggest thing is the pan man. So it goes from left to right slowly. It just sits nicely in the background. There's nothing crazy that you can, immediately pick up on. It just works really nicely in this sort of second 8 bar of the drop. And there I am utilizing that lack of kick and snare to sort of, give the track a bit more breathing room, and so that the drums don't get too stale, obviously, because it is just pretty much a loop. The build-up is crucial for setting the stage for the drop. Use the main vocal motif, repeating it to make it memorable and engaging for listeners. Incorporate a repeating kick paired with risers to build tension. Layer in elements from earlier like the mid-bass and atmospheric sounds to create a cohesive and exciting build-up that leads seamlessly into the drop. So taking a look at the build-up, I obviously have the main sort of vocal that repeats.
Don't go wasting time, we'll get lost in the night.
Paired with that is the pluck and atmosphere. Then we've got the mid bass, which is actually filtered, so I have a low cut on here. And it actually closes up and it comes back down into the drop. Something that Subfocus does like to do. Whereas most people, they'd have this sort of last 4 bars empty. I've noticed in some tracks he does like sort of edge it in. Then for the drums, pretty simple stuff. We've got that kick that's pretty much doing the same thing but in reverse. So it has the lows cut out, but it's slowly introducing them. There's a clap going as well. And then one thing I listened to and I've heard in a few of his tracks is almost like this really fast repeating 16th note snare, which sounds like this. It gets louder in volume as well, usually. It sounds a bit goofy on its own, but when you get everything paired and you get the volume just right, it can work really well as a tension builder, and it just provides that like really fast rhythm. And then, of course, you've got a few effects. So it comes up, drops, and then it builds up again, just to give it that tension. And then back down into a crowd noise filter. But yeah, the build-up then sounds like this. But yeah, that is pretty much everything for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. I do really want to apologize about my lack of engagement to the channel. I know I sort of dipped for a few months and let Denver upload all the videos, but if you didn't know, I was finishing my music production degree, but that's all finished with. And I just want to, really thank everyone for sticking around and allowing me to take Inverse Audio full time. It really does mean a lot to me. So stay tuned. We're going to be bringing out more regular content now and a lot more of it. So super excited to do that. I'm also offering one-to-one lessons again. I've just dropped my price again. So if you're interested, now would be a good time to do so. If you want any mixing and mastering, hit us up. Make sure to join the Discord. We're sometimes active in there. Join the voice call, get producing with us. And yeah, leave a comment with anything you want to see in the next video. And without any further ado, I'm going to play the track now and I'll catch you guys next time.
Oh, I can see you making eyes at me. You think you got it so good. I can't decide if you can give me everything I need. It's a 2:15 in the morning, getting started.